This is the day that JJ hides an old concrete garage with weatherboarding. It's 200mm by 4.8 metre lengths, and what we're going to do is we're going to put battens on the vertical bits that you can just about see there and going along, and then we'll attach the boarding to those, hopefully. Here you can see some bolts sticking out of the concrete work, so what we've got to do is we've got to recess those into the wooden battens. So Charlie has cut with a flathead bit, you can see over there, we're cutting about a 10mm recess with a bit into the wood, and then that will then allow us to put the batten over the top. See that there? There we go. And that will then just cover that up, and that will go flush. Hopefully you can see that against the concrete. And there's the little recess, so we're putting that over the bolt head that's sticking out, and then we're going to drill this through with the access. It takes quite a lot of pressure. We're drilling in the middle of the concrete post, because then hopefully we won't hit any of the reinforcing wires. So probably gone a bit deep there, but you probably want to go in about 75mm, something like that. So here are the tools we use for putting the batten onto the side of the garage. We've got a big powerful hammer drill with a 7mm drill bit, a hammer, a screwdriver with a screwdriver bit in it, and we use these brown plugs, and these ones, I don't know whether you can see, but these are actually quite thin. Some of them are actually quite stumpy for plasterboard, but these are for going through solid brick and concrete. And the beauty of these is that I can knock these through the battens into the concrete, which will save having to take the battens off and realign them, which is always a bit of a pain. So we're now going up to put the batten on. We're going to put in some 60mm long by number 5 screws. And here is one I prepared earlier. So what I've done now is I've put the 60mm screw into the end of the brown plug. These brown plugs will take most reasonable size screws. So then that's the little recess we prepared earlier to go over that little bolt that's sticking out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that over there and align that hopefully with the hole that I drilled. Hang on. Cut. Pick up the screw and the brown plug and the hammer, and then I'm going to put that back into position again over there. Put the brown plug gently into there with the screw attached, and then we're going to knock that in just gently. And then when it gets to the stage where it starts to get a feel, I don't know if you can hear the difference in it, but when it gets to the stage where it feels hard like that against there, then it's then ready to be screwed in. So then we get our screwdriver, and we go, that's it. The screw's nicely recessed, and that's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 3 screws in, 60mm screws, so you've got 1, 2 and 3 at the bottom there. That's really nice and solid, and that'll hopefully hold our boarding on. Now got all the battens nicely fitted to the side of the old concrete garage, and then we're now putting in this 200mm by 4.8 metre lengths of sawn feather edge boarding. Right, so when I work on my own, I sometimes put a couple of temporary nails in just to hold the boarding on at the right position, because basically what we want is about a 25mm overlap. So what I do is I just put the batten to the top of the board, this board here, and then mark a line, put my little nail in, and then what we should be able to do then is, what could possibly go wrong? So those sit nicely on there, and we push that up that end so it's nice and flush to the end, and then we're just going to now, hopefully, as long as the cameraman's not drunk, that should be look fairly level. We'll just check that for level again. As you can see, the bubble is between the two lines on the spirit level, so that's pretty well level. So now getting to the more challenging bit. So as you see, the roof is sloping down, so what we're going to do is to measure down from the top of that current top board by 25mm, which is the overlap we want, up to the lower edge of the UPVC fascia, and then measure it back from the end of the board to where the, as is a 200mm board comes, where the point that comes, and whatever that measurement is, that's the starting point for your angle from the 200mm down to the narrower bit. Hopefully at this height you can see more clearly the nails that I've put in just to temporarily support the feather edge boarding, and that just makes it a bit easier if you're working on your own. So basically I marked a line at 25mm below the top edge of this board here, and that's where I put my nails in, and then I can rest the other board on top. But what I'm now going to show you is how to measure and cut that triangle to go in there, which is much the same way as I measured the triangle to go in there. That's the difficult part. Very difficult to see in this video, but you may be able to hopefully see a line I've put on the top of the board, 25mm from the top of the board at the far end, and I've also put 25mm there and 25mm there and 25mm here, which is where our board will end. So basically that's the end of the board that we're now going to cut. So what I want to do is to cut the board to that length, which actually is, for convenience sake, the length of that final board to go in there is 2 meters. And then what we do is we measure down from the underside of the white UPVC cladding, that end, and then we measure down from the underside of the UPVC cladding, that end, by 25mm at the 2 meter mark. Then hopefully that shall overlap adequately to cover the building. Now making sure you've got your piece of feather edge boarding the correct side up, i.e. with the thicker side to the bottom of the board. Then we put our measurements on. So that bottom measurement there was the one that was 25mm. We've left a little bit of overhang just to make it easier to start the power saw off with. And then this other end we have a measurement of 18.5 centimeters, and then we draw a nice line between those two marks with a very substantial pencil, or maybe a Sharpie pen, something that stands out well against the boarding, and then we cut carefully along that using maybe another board, definitely another board underneath, to protect the decking or the surface on which you're sawing from the saw blade. I tend to use the power saw for this because I tried doing it with a hand saw yesterday and it really didn't work very well. So you do need a power saw, or ask somebody who's used to using a power saw to help you cut those last couple of triangles. See there, I've just put my last 3 nails in at the 25mm mark down from the top of the board, and now we'll put the final board on. So hopefully you will agree that that has changed the dreary, tatty look of the old concrete garage. I don't personally bother to paint or stain the wood. I like the natural wood and just let it go off naturally, because once you start painting or staining it, then you've got to keep on doing it. So if you're happy to do that, that's fine. Luckily with the horizontal boards it's fairly easy to stain, rather than the slatted ones are a bit more difficult, a bit more fiddly. But as it's treated with tannerised timber, it'll last probably for a good 10 years or more without any further treatment. So now the final piece has been fitted into place, snug as a bug in a rug. So that's it. Hurrah!